Well, that's not great. Let's see if we can figure out the problem with my webcam first, I guess. Doing it live, chat. Doing it live. Well, that's not great. Well, that's better than nothing, but let's see if I can actually get the regular camera on. Well, are we back? No? There we go. Alright, sweet. Okay, that'll work. Alright, so we are going to hop into all 32 teams, and we are going to do a 3-round mock draft. We are going to fly solo on this one. Crush is dealing with some health stuff with the family and kiddos, so if he's able to hop in at some point, then that would be awesome. If not, we're just going to go ahead and rock out here. Again, trades are enabled. I'm going to probably be making some here as we kind of work through and figure out what some different possibilities would be and what we're looking at. So, for now, we're just going to get this thing underway. We've talked about this the past few weeks. There's a possibility, there's a world where the Titans trade out of this pick. It really doesn't feel like that's going to happen at this point to me. I feel pretty confident that Cam Ward is going to go number 1 overall to the Titans. Again, we've talked about this before. He's a very talented player. He could probably benefit from sitting a year. I think any of these guys really could. But if there was one guy that you were like, okay, on day 1, let's just see what he's got. Cam Ward at least has enough of an upside that I would be excited about seeing what he can do on the football field. This is a really weird class. Quarterbacks are not great. As we're kind of looking at things and working through what that looks like. And we're going to see this over the next few picks here as we're talking about things too. Because the Browns signing Joe Flacco today doesn't move the needle. Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and Deshaun Watson is a beginning of a bad joke and not a real quarterback room. I think the Browns have to make a move at some point to take a quarterback. But do you use the second pick here on Shedeur Sanders? Is that what you really want to be doing? I don't know that it is. There's an argument that he's the second best quarterback available. You could maybe make an argument that you think that he's the best quarterback available because his floor is maybe above the floor that Cam Ward provides. Cam Ward just has the upside. Shedeur doesn't have amazing arm talent. He doesn't have amazing mobility. Those are two things that Cam Ward, I don't know if I would call him amazing right out of the gate, but he at least has the edge over him. And those are two fairly important factors as teams are looking at the quarterback position nowadays in today's landscape. So I'm going to avoid quarterback here and go a different route. Again, 2 of their top 5 needs listed here are wide receiver and cornerback. And there's a player at the top of the board here who could do both. Now, how does he slot in on either side of the ball there? I don't know. I don't know if the Browns are going to want to use him two-way. I know he's going to want to play two-way. So, again, this could be something where maybe the Browns don't make this move because, the talk from Travis Hunter is that he wants to go two-way, and the Browns are like, well, we really just want you to play corner 2 for now, or wide receiver 2 for now, and go from there. I don't know if that's going to be the case, and I could see them using him on both sides of the ball just because they do have needs at both positions. So that's going to be my pick there. I don't know if that's necessarily chalk. I think that somewhere between him and Carter at this point is probably chalk. They have a bigger need at this subset of positions, cornerback, wide receiver, than I do think they do edge rusher. But imagining a world where they get Carter to play opposite Garrett is gross. Which brings us to the Giants, and I'm going to, again, bring this up and talk about it again here. The Giants could use a quarterback. Does Russell Wilson change my mind on whether or not they need a quarterback? No, he doesn't. Does Tommy DeVito change my mind on whether they need a quarterback? No, he doesn't. Does Jameis Winston change my mind on whether they need a quarterback? No, it doesn't. So why am I not going to take Shedeur Sanders here? And I think my answer is that I think the Giants have enough holes elsewhere. And as of right now, Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are coaching for their careers. At least with the Giants. So if they are, potentially on the out this coming year, I forget if both their contracts are up or if it's just a situation where John Mara has openly basically said, if we don't win this year, I have no interest in bringing these guys back. My patience is wearing thin. So if this is a situation where they could seriously not be back next year if they don't win this year, are you using the number 3 overall pick on potentially a quarterback that's not going to start for you in week 1, or are you going to address the fact that, hey, we have needs all over the place? Obviously Brian Burns looked pretty good last year. Kayvon Thibodeau, we still don't know what the full upside is with him. You lost Dexter Lawrence. Is there a world where they take Mason Graham here at 3? Maybe. I could see it. I think it's more likely that they go with Abdul Carter, and that's what I'm going to do here. And I think, and again, I know that I'm putting my foot in my mouth, and I understand that. Going back a few weeks, before some of these moves had happened, I said something along the lines of, I think that it's fair to say that the top 4 picks are going to be Ward, Hunter, Carter, and Shedeur in some order. But I don't think that's entirely true. When I was saying that, it was me coming from a place of saying, okay, well, the Browns and the Giants really need a quarterback. And I think that over the last couple weeks, and again, this could be smoke and mirrors, it just seems like Shedeur's stock is falling a little bit for the teams that are going to be drafting towards the top. To me, it seems more likely that Shedeur winds up going in the 9 to 15 range-ish. That a team could be looking to make a trade involving moving up for Shedeur. But obviously, I mean, the Patriots have Drake May. You're not using this pick. Even though you have a new head coach, I think he likes Drake May. I think that's one of the reasons why he wanted to go coach the Patriots. If Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter are going 1, 2, 3, in whatever order that may be. Because I would argue, personally, that if the Titans decide to go Hunter or Carter, which they could, either one would be an option for him, that then probably the Browns or Giants go Cam Ward at 2 or 3. I would also make an argument that if the Titans aren't taking Cam Ward, that they're going to trade back with either of those two teams and pick up a haul for one of those teams to trade up to 1 to take Cam Ward. And the Titans then could just say, we're happy taking Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, so we'll trade back behind the Browns. The Browns can pick whoever they want to, and we're just going to take the guy that we want. That's a real possibility. Again, that's not how things played out in this particular instance. But it brings us to a weird spot now at pick 4, because like I said the other week, I thought the first 4 were going to be Shador, Cam Ward, and then Hunter Carter. That's not going to happen here. So what do we do if you're the New England Patriots? Do you give Drake May a weapon? And if you do, what kind of weapon do you give him? Because I would argue that they need offense pretty badly. Tetairoa McMillan would be a very nice, big-bodied wide receiver. That's a pretty cool move to make if you want to beef up your receiving core pretty substantially. Again, I'm just going to pull up their depth chart here real quick. Demario Davis, Kayshon Boutte, Stephon Diggs, Matt Collins. None of those guys stop you from taking a first-round wide receiver, in my opinion. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the best move that they could make. I'm saying that none of those guys are difference makers enough. You could argue Stephon Diggs, they just give him a big contract, but he's not getting any younger. He's coming off a big injury. That could go horribly wrong for them. At running back, they have Ramondre Stevenson, obviously, but I believe he's going into the last year of his contract. And frankly, he has not been as good as you would like him to be. And then you have an offensive line with a couple pretty good starters. Cole Strange has looked pretty good to this point. Garrett Bradbury, I think, is a good pickup at center for him. Mike Onwenu, I think, played well last year. Morgan Moses is also not getting any younger. He's, 36? 34? But Vidarian Lau is not moving the needle for me at all. I think that he is very much... he's very on the table to get moved. And when I say moved, I mean bumped for a better player. So do they just take Will Campbell and stick a pick 4? Very possible. Will Campbell, as I've talked about I don't know how many times, is a very Mike Vrabel player that you could plug and play. He could play guard if you needed him to. He could play tackle if you needed him to. I think that some of the concerns about him playing tackle were around his arm length, and I don't think that they're as big of a concern as they were at one point. Armand Membu is also going to be a very good tackle, but I think he's almost exclusively a right tackle, and probably not something that they would consider taking here. But the question is, if you're trading up here, who are you coming to get? The Jaguars, if they were to pick here, are probably taking Mason Graham. So is there a team within striking distance that would want to make a move up for Mason Graham? Maybe the Niners, maybe the Bears. The Jets would be an interesting one, although I don't know if that's necessarily the move that they would want to make. I think for this particular instance, I find it hard to believe that there wouldn't be a trade within these top 4 picks. It's not guaranteed that there wouldn't be, and I think that it is definitely possible that Mike Vrabel would just love Will Campbell and want to make that move happen. But I am not sure if they would pick him here at 4. I think they would try to pick down or trade down a couple picks. They could take Genti too. I didn't really talk about that. I know I talked about that they didn't really have great wide receivers, but I didn't go into specifics about who I was talking about with that. Does a team make the move? This is always the tricky part to me, is what do the Patriots do? I think the Patriots would love to trade down. There's a lot of times that a team is in a situation where they would love to trade down because they don't love the players that are on the board. But that's never the question of, do you want to trade down? It's who is there that would want to trade up. And that is my current conundrum, is that I don't know who would. Um, which is leading me to believe that I should just stick with Will Campbell. Does a team come up for Genty? That's what I'm going to do. We're going to make a trade, and the Chicago Bears are going to come up to 4. They're going to give up pick 41. And a future 2. I could see it costing more than this to move up 6 spots. But we're just going to push it through. And the Bears are going to take Genty to stick in that backfield. Maybe they could have waited, but I think that there's a strong chance that Genty goes at 6 to the Raiders. The Jags are happy because they get to still take their guy Mason Graham here at 5, which then puts the Raiders in a weird spot because they probably would have loved to have Genty, and now they can't. So what did they do? I could see the Raiders striking for a cornerback. Will Johnson feels like a lean, long, fairly quick cornerback that Pete Carroll likes to have on his teams. I could see Tet McMillan here. I could see any of the wide receivers really here. Because we looked at this last week, the Raiders... Raiders depth chart is bad at wide receiver. Ramel Keaton, Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers. None of those guys move the needle for me. There's a world that I think, even though they just gave Geno Smith an extension, I think they still could take Shedeur Sanders. But I think given that extension, I don't think they should. They could go offensive line. I don't think that DJ Glaze or Jordan Meredith are really going to stop you from doing that. Defensively, I feel pretty solid. If I was them, I would feel pretty solid about the unit that they have. Eric Stokes and Lonnie Johnson being backups is nice depth. Tight end, they're not touching with a 10-foot pole. It's probably too early to take Hampton, but I could see it happening. Want to get weird? Let's get weird, you know? I could see McMillan falling, and that's why I don't necessarily want to do this, but I think I'm going to anyway. And the Raiders get their big-bodied Pac-12 wide receiver in Tetero McMillan. Again, it just feels like a Pete Campbell type of guy. And, we're going to go ahead and make that move, which brings the Jets onto the clock. The Jets are now tasked with deciding whether they would want Will Campbell or Armand Membu. And I think that with the way that their guard situation is already staffed with Elijah Vera Tucker, who is kind of a similar player to what you might get out of Will Campbell. Olu Fashanu is a tremendous piece, I think, at left tackle. but Carter Warren I don't think is solid enough. I think that Membu is a instant plug and play starter. I don't think that Will Campbell is not that. But I think if I was picking between the two of who I would rather have right away for both run and pass block, I would be taking Membu. And I know that this is not the sexy pick necessarily for the Jets, but I think that sexy picks are kind of out the window when you're looking at what teams actually need and what they should be doing with their picks. Yeah, Membu it is. Panthers have a tricky task here. They could use edge pretty good. But Shamar Stewart has some concerns. Mike Green has some concerns. James Pierce has some concerns. Ezaraku doesn't... He's good. He doesn't necessarily strike me as a Panthers type edge. I think I might just pull the trigger and go Jalen Walker. I think that Jalen Walker will wind up playing more on the edge in a role that I think he could be effective in the Panthers scheme. I mean, they could use some pieces defensively. I mean, he's replacing DJ Wanham or Jadeveon Clowney, in my opinion, which I don't think is a bad thing. They could go Jihad Campbell too, frankly. They haven't had a middle linebacker as good as Jihad Campbell, I think, since Luke Kuechly. I know that sounds a little bit blasphemous, but he should be really, really good. He should be really, really good. I'm going to regret this one. I'm going Jalen Walker to the Panthers at 8. Bring up the Saints. I think that the Patriots are getting very excited that Will Campbell is still on the board here for them. And it might prompt the Niners to make a move up. Saints are a bad team. Derek Carr's now hurt. Do you trust Spencer Rattler for the season? Do you trust Derek Carr at all moving forward? Or do you just say, this is our time? We're taking Shedeur Sanders, number 9 overall, to the New Orleans Saints, staying in the black and gold, but switching sides of the country. It would be kind of interesting. Dion, obviously a very famous Falcon. His son going to play quarterback for one of their biggest rivals. But again, I mean, I know quarterback's not listed here as a need. If Derek Carr is going to miss the season, and again, no, teams should not be drafting a rookie this year only based off their needs for the coming season. But do Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, or Ben DiNucci do enough in your mind to stave off the need for a quarterback in the next few years? I don't think they do. The Saints are still in cap hell and will continue to be in cap hell until they finally decide to do something about it. They've added enough pieces elsewhere that maybe they can be kind of good if they can stay healthy. But one way to guarantee you're not going to be good is to have an unhealthy starting quarterback and then two guys behind him that just haven't really proven much. Spencer Rattler looked okay last year for part of the season. He didn't do enough, in my mind, to say, okay, he's the guy. I'm locking it in. Shedeur Sanders is going 9 to the Saints. The Bears traded this pick to the Patriots, who are just taking Will Campbell and very excited that he's still there for him. I want to go Jahdae Barron here, but I'm going to go Jihad Campbell. They lost somebody that I consider to be a very good linebacker in Dre Greenlaw. Shout out to the Broncos. But they're going to need some help with their linebacker core. Obviously, they still have Fred Warner, who's an all-pro, which I think is part of the reason why they let Greenlaw walk, because you can get by with slightly worse players and still having Fred Warner there. But D. Winters, I think, is a liability, and I don't see anybody else on this list that I think is good enough to not be a liability in the middle of that defense. Maybe they hold off on this and they wait until the second round to make this pick at 43. But if we're just looking at that real quick here, I mean, Demetrius Knight could be gone. Carson Schwarzenegger could be gone. Do you like Chris Paul enough to take him at 43? Maybe. I wouldn't hate it. But I think that the drop from Campbell to Schwarzenegger and Knight is pretty significant. Even if one of these guys, like Demetrius Knight, I think could actually be really, really good. A really solid fit in the scheme for the Niners. But Jihad Campbell, I think here, the value is just too good to pass up. And now, what do we do with the Cowboys? By the way, I wouldn't be that surprised if the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons on draft night. Just going to put that out there for the world to hear. But they could use an edge regardless. If they keep Micah Parsons, and they do sign him to an extension, they could use an edge. They could really use wide receiver help. Cornerback isn't like crazy good. Apparently they're all the way out on running back at this point. I think that if Genty is here, I could make that a conversation. I don't think that they would take Omarion Hampton. I think that they are happy enough with this running back room, whether they should be or not. I think they take a running back at some point. I don't think it's the first round. It might not even be until day 3. There's a couple of guys that I could see them taking in day 3, for sure. Ollie Gordon. Anyway, I think we're going to go with an edge rusher. I'm just going to try to figure out which one. Mike Green feels like a Cowboy. Did the Cowboys like Israel Mukuamu enough for me to not take Barron? Barron, Golden Banks, they would all make sense for the Cowboys. Partially because they're Texas players, partially because they would make sense from a player perspective. I think I'm going to take Baron. I think they can hold off till Edge in the second round. I know it's not listed as a need for him, but I have a hard time believing that it's not. He could flex into a safety role. He could play corner for you. He could do a little bit of everything. He's a defensive weapon. Something I think the Cowboys would love to have. But this does make this decision a little bit easier, or more difficult, really, because I think that the Dolphins would have loved a player like Jahdae Barron. Storm Duck. Jeez, dude. This is a brutal football team. I think I have to go edge. Matt Dickerson doesn't move the needle for me. Zach Seiler, I think, is okay. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are good if they can stay healthy. I know they took Chop Robinson last year and Mohamed Kamara. But they need somebody who can play and create pass rush from a defensive line role, and I think that Kenneth Grant could be that guy. But I think 6'3", 339. What is 6'5", 310? He's what, 6'3", 305. I think I'm leaning towards Derek Harmon. Ooh. Is that too much of a reach? Do you go Shamar Stewart instead? Dolphins, you think might wind up being a trade down team? I could see that too. It wouldn't surprise me. I guess that's the question. Who is a team coming up to take here? Probably trying to jump the Colts for Tyler Warren if that's what we're doing. So they're low. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's kind of the boat that I'm in. I mean, they could take Will Johnson. They could take an edge. They could take, or like that hybrid defensive line edge. They could go wide receiver. And honestly, I mean, Starks is a very good player. I think it wouldn't be crazy to see him go to the Dolphins at 13 because Ashton Davis doesn't move the needle for me. Broncos. Is that what we did last week? Did we make... Hold on. Please hold. I know we had the Broncos trade up last week for Warren, but I don't remember who it was with. Good Lord. Wait, did we not do that? Oh yeah, I said last week. It was definitely 2 weeks ago. What did we do here? Now I'm stressing myself out. I'm trying to scroll back through. We took Hampton for him. Oh, was that what it was? It was 4.0 that they traded up? Dude, I talk way too much in these videos. right. They traded up with the Cowboys in that one. All right. Okay. So yeah, one pick difference. Yep. They traded. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Let's run it. Why not? Pick 20. Pick 13. Pick 51. Three for next year, and you get 155 back. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be realistic. It's just a framework. Tyler Warren, you are a Denver Bronco, baby! And the Colts are pissed. Pissed. That they miss out on their darling tight end, but they just signed Mo Alie-Cox, so they don't even need him anymore, honestly. They are probably very excited to have such a talented tight end back into the mix here with Drew Ogletree still as their starter. Albert O, again, we're talking about athletic tight ends, Jelani Woods. Who needs Tyler Warren anyway? The Broncos do, that's who. Yeah, the Colts might want Loveland more, but I'm not going to do that because I hate the Colts, everything they stand for, and their entire framework of drafting. So I'm going to do something that they shouldn't do because he's listed as a need, even though I don't think it actually is, given the players that they have and the players that they've drafted where they've drafted them. Do I actually do that? I want to give him Mike Green because it says they need edge, which I think is fucking stupid because they just took Latu last year and Kwity Paye the year before that, or a few years before that. And Ebukam's not bad, but Latu's gonna play here. I don't understand why. Why are they saying they need edge? Besides PFF being a cesspool of idiocy, give him Milrow. That would be funny. That'd be really funny, actually. No, I know they won't, and they shouldn't. I get that. But also, they shouldn't have taken what's his face as high as they did. Juju Brents, they shouldn't have taken as high as they did. But they did anyway, because they are dum-dums. If I hadn't given Campbell to the Niners, I probably would have taken him here. I could see them taking Banks to play right guard. I could see them taking Xavier Worthy to pair back up with Adonai Mitchell-Smile. I did think about Zabel too. Zabel will be very interesting, I think. He just doesn't feel like a Colt, though. To me. I think I'm going to give him Banks to play guard. Leave Zabel on the board for somebody who's going to appreciate him more. Just a big, good old beefy Fritos burrito here who's played nothing but left tackle in college, but probably grades out better as a 6'4", 320 guard. And now, that brings us to a team that I hate drafting for because every time that they draft in real life, they piss me off. It's the Atlanta Falcons. I have to take edge. I have to take edge. I'm either giving them Mike Green or Mykal Williams. I'm giving them Mike Green. It probably won't happen, and will make me upset again if they take somebody stupid. But I can't not give them. They have needed edge every year for like 165 years. Even if you like Braylon Trice enough and Arnold Ebiketie enough, you still really need one more rotationally. I mean, I think Braylon Trice is a fine rotational player. I like Arnold Ebiketie a lot, obviously. We are. But Leonard Floyd isn't doing it for me. D'Angelo Malone isn't doing it for me. You need something. Mykal could do some other weird stuff for you, too. He's athletic enough to do that. But Mike Green, I think, is big enough that if you needed him to bump inside and play like this Zach Harrison, Morgan Fox role, they could. I could also see them going corner or defensive line as well, for sure. Again, we've talked about this before. I don't think that David Onyemother or Rook or is going to stop you from doing that. They need defense, yes, 100%. I did forget they got Brandon Dorlus, though. I will not lie to you. I completely forgot they got Brandon Dorlus last year. Cardinals are taking Gray Zabel. We've done this 100 times, and we're going to keep doing it. We're on mock draft 6. We've done it 100 times. Don't ask me how the math works. Don't ask me how the math works, but it does. Trust me. I'm a doctor. Pepper. Bengals need defensive line. They need linebacker. They need cornerback. They need safety. They need wide receiver, but on the defense. Like, they just need anything that you could think of possibly defensively. Every single position that they need is on defense. They don't need a guard. I understand they need a guard, but they don't need a guard. Cody Ford is bad. I just want to take Kenneth Grant for him, man. I really do. I could see Walter Nolan. I could see Derek Harmon. I mean, I don't want to take Kenneth Grant for him because I want Kenneth Grant to be a Steeler. They definitely need a guard with it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they could take Tate later. They shouldn't be able to get Booker, but they could be potentially in a spot to trade up for Booker if he gets within a striking distance for him. I think I'm locked into a defensive lineman, and Walter Nolan just feels like a Bengals type player. He feels a lot like Geno Atkins to me. Not in like a one-to-one comp. I'm not saying that Walter Nolan's going to be Geno Atkins. It just, he feels like a similar player profile, and it feels like the Bengals play at their best when they have a player like that on the field. I think that he does things that Kenneth Grant might not necessarily do, that Derek Harmon might not necessarily do. And honestly, you could say that about any of them. I think that all three are... Yeah, I agree with that too. But Harmon, Nolan, Grant, I think are a very similar tier. It's just a flavor thing. Pick your favorite flavor. And it's tough for me because I like Grant a lot, but I think that the Bengals are a team that would rather have Nolan, so that's what I'm going to do. I think Nolan's going to go before Grant, predictably. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that remains to be seen, obviously, until draft day, how things are going to work out. For all we know, none of this happens. And every single pick that I've had so far is wrong. I feel fairly confident that the first three guys go within the first three picks, but the order could be different. We could have trades here in the first three. It didn't happen today. Like it's tough to say what's going to happen one way or another. Now a team that could really, really, really use interior offensive line. It's the Seattle Seahawks, who have Olu at center, Satoa Lamea and Anthony Bradford at guards. Picked up DeMarcus Lawrence. They have Uchenna Nwosu. They could probably use an edge rusher, but I don't think it's their biggest need. But at this point, I don't think that... I mean, you're not taking Tyler Booker here, I don't think. It's a weird spot. I think that they would actually love Gray Zabel if he fell to them here. If they decide to get over themselves and take a guard this year, of course. But Ezeraku also feels like a Seahawk. Boye Mafe and Derek Hall back-to-back years. Donovan Jackson feels... you know what? I could see that. I could see that. But would they trade back to try to do that? And if they were trading back, I guess the question is, who's coming up here? Maybe the Dolphins move up these two picks, but that's probably not a far enough slide for the Seahawks to take Donovan Jackson. A team who's coming up for one of the defensive linemen, I could see. A team who's looking for their pick of any of these wide receivers, I could see. Starks, I could see as a target. You know, if there's a team that's actually worried about a running back potentially going in this stretch here, I could see that. I mean, maybe they just trade, like, try to make a trade up for Donovan Jackson. They have a couple picks back-to-back here that they could maybe bundle those two picks together to move up a little bit for Donovan Jackson and then also pick up a pick or two later on in the draft. A little pick swap type action. I'm just going to give him Ezeraku. Which also I think would have been a player that the Bucks would have loved to have as well. Bucks could use cornerback. They could use a safety. I think it's tough for me to imagine Starks not going here. Just make sure there's nobody that I'm not thinking of. Again, I could see them going Will Johnson too. I think that these are your next two picks with the way the board has fallen for the Bucks and the Dolphins. Again, they could go edge because I don't think Hassan Reddick moves the needle. I don't think Yaya Diaby really moves the needle. Yeah, and I think that's what I'm between. Is Will Johnson, Malachi Starks at this point. It's just a matter of which do you want more? Do you want Starks to pair with Winfield. I think Zion McCollum has played well enough to this point that you're not really worried about him. But, like, Dean, I don't love. And Tyke Smith, I don't love. So I definitely think that corner is on the table. And Zion McCollum probably does look better as a cornerback 2 than a cornerback 1. You think Starks probably? Well, that's the deciding vote that I needed then. Starks it is, and Will Johnson is going to the Miami Dolphins. I kicked that pick around earlier for him when they were still picking at 13. I was basically between Starks and Johnson. So, both of them, I think, being here. Honestly, if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm upset. So I'm upset. Because Starks and Johnson, I think, both would have been huge gets for us in the first round. I would have been thrilled if either of them made it to our pick. I wouldn't have considered it likely, but seeing them both get so close and then missing on both of them would definitely suck. There's definitely a world where if that happens, we just trade up to make something. I'm not taking Milroe in the first round. Not for the Steelers, anyway. I think the Steelers get Aaron Rodgers. And I wouldn't be surprised. You're going to hate my predicted mock. Dude, I swear to God, if you gave us Milroe at pick 21, I will be upset. Upsetty spaghetti. I think there's a world that Rodgers says, I'm not signing with you if you take a quarterback early. And or just says, if you take a quarterback early, I'm just going to retire. So I think we are forced into a different direction because of that. Obviously, this quarterback room looks a lot better with Aaron Rodgers slotted in here at QB1. We definitely are going to need a running back at some point. I don't think tackle's a need. I still don't get why it's listed here. I get that Broderick Jones hasn't looked great. He's going into his third season. Like, it's not like he's a 2022 or a 2021 pick that it's out. He still has something in the tank. Is it too early for me to go Amos or Ravel? Probably. Hampton feels like what Rodgers want. I could see that. Or Henderson. Dude, could you imagine if Aaron Rodgers gets his Aaron Jones replacement? Ravel might go around. Yeah, Amos and Ravel might both go round 1, but the question is 21 too early to make that happen? And if so, do you make a trade? And if so, what is the trade for? Well, the Rams might want to come up. Move them up a little bit from where I moved them down. Thank you, because I have said for the longest time that I liked him a lot as a cornerback, and you not liking him made me not feel very nicey. They have some picks here. Something like that, maybe. Waiting for a third round corner. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. If Porter or Thomas or Morrison slips to that point, that would be great. Kobe Bryant you could take. Noel Williams you could take. I wouldn't be that mad about it, but I'd be a lot happier with those guys in the fourth. I mean, Kobe Bryant I could see. Y'all aren't that bad. I disagree because I hate Darius Slay as a starter. Granted, if we start Corey Trice, I feel good about it. If we start Corey Trice, Beanie Bishop, and Joey Porter, I feel good about where we are as a cornerback room. If Corey Trice gets hurt and we go Darius Slay, I'm not happy about it. We probably do need running back more. But again, we're just in the same boat to me of the Steelers just moved on from Najee Harris, who Steelers fans were very love-hate with. Some loved him, some hated him for being a 1,000-yard-a-year rusher, not really missing time ever, and just being consistent. Is that enough for you out of a first-round pick? Maybe it's not. I get that. But as a Steelers fan, would you be pissed to watch your team draft another running back in the first round? Again, as we've previously stated, I am not a guy who hates taking running back in the first round. I just don't know if they would do it. And if they do, I think taking it at 21, where they took Najee at, 20 or 21 before? '24th. So, you know, it's tough. I think you feel a lot better about it, again, if you trade back. And pick up some extra capital for later in this draft. But again, it's a matter of what are we making these trades for? Y'all, yeah, exactly. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lock it in here. What are the Vikings coming up for? I guess Hampton? I could see Hampton, I guess. I'm going to make the trade with the Rams. I know that they're supposedly not interested in this pick. I'm going to choose to not believe that, and this is what I'm going to go with. I don't think that this is necessarily super indicative of realistic reality, but I'm just going to do it anyway. It's close enough. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I don't know. So the Rams are taking Loveland and sniping the Chargers, so now they can't do it. Back-to-back Michigan players here. I could see a real argument for the Chargers going Grant and just going Wolverines 3 picks in a row. Also, hold on. Am I stupid? Okay, good. I am stupid. I was going to say, if I made the only 2 trades that we made in the first round, your team and my team, that's probably rigged. But I forgot that I did the Bears trading up to take Genty. It's going to be really hard for me not to take Golden here. But I think that they would take Egbuka over him for what they need. It's probably a safer floor. A lot of what Golden does, you can say that you split between Ladd and Quentin. Quentin needs to learn how to catch the ball, obviously. But I think Egbuka probably fits better with what Harbaugh's going to want to do. I think he's going to be a better run blocker at wide receiver than Golden or Burden, for that matter. Yeah, I'm just going to do it. Packers could also use wide receiver. Although I don't think it's Harbaugh's going to take Betcher Higgins. I could see that too. I could definitely see that too. I still don't understand. We've talked about this I don't know how many times, and it's a problem for me to keep bringing it up. I understand that. But what part of this offensive line unit makes PFF say that they don't need any? Like Rashawn Gary and Kingsley Enagbari, Lucas Van Ness, that's fine to me at edge. Cornerback, I can see. Nate Hobbs, I don't think is really a great starter. Keyshawn Nixon is more of a special teamer than an actual starting cornerback, but he played well enough last year. Obviously, the big question is Alexander going to be there at any point in time? Are they going to wind up trading him? What are they doing with him? But if you don't trade him, I think he's still plenty capable at this point. And wide receivers are weird because, like, Wicks, Reed, Watson, Dobbs, it just matters if they can stay healthy. But on paper, they have the unit for it. They probably should go wide receiver. I'm probably going to give them Golden. But, like, Simmons or Connerly would also make sense to me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Dobbs is a concussion away from being retired. Christian Watson is a hamstring away from being retired. Jaden Reed is, what, 6'2"? And, like, 200 pounds? 5'11", 187, even smaller. Jesus Christ. Wicks dropped 1 out of 5. That is abysmal. I'm giving him Matthew Golden. And the Vikings still get Hampton? Yeah. Yep, that's the one. Now, the Texans, I should go offensive line. And I'm probably going to. Because once again, nothing in this unit screams out to me and says, we are good. I like Juice Scruggs more than the average person. I don't think that he's somebody that really should be starting this point. He's a solid 4th round pick that they took in the 2nd round, and I think that's a mistake. But Tank Dell might not play ever again. Barrios, Mechie, Justin Watson, none of those guys move the needle for me. Christian Kirk and Nico Collins are solid. But, like, Luther Burden would be a nice little injection into that offense. I could actually see the Texans using Tyler Booker fairly well. Wouldn't be surprised if they went Simmons or Connerly either, though. Did Simmons block for just the rookie legend wide receiver later? Yeah, sure. Was Simmons on the team with Stroud? Have we had this conversation 800 times already? I think we have. Simmons was on the team with Stroud in 2022 when he was worst season, but he was playing right tackle. Then he would play left tackle here. Over Cam Robinson. It's just hard for me not to do this. I've done. I know I'm deja vu. I think I'm just gonna do it. This is weight 325. Simmons it is. Which brings us back to the Steelers. And now I think you're looking at a cornerback. I think you're potentially looking at a running back here. I could also see Judkins maybe more than Travion for the Steelers specifically. in the first. I mean, I could see both, frankly, but I think if the Steelers had retained Najee Harris and not Jalen Warren, I would feel better about taking Henderson. I think the fact that we didn't keep Najee makes me feel more like they take Judkins. And I don't know if Judkins should be going over Henderson necessarily. And maybe it's still too early. Maybe they try to trade back again. Maybe there's a team here that wants to trade into the first. I know he's probably going to be a 3-down back. I like Henderson a lot. I just... Okay, counterpoint. Henderson will be a 3-down back. He can do it all. Who is our offensive coordinator? Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith drafted probably the best running back prospect I've ever watched, aside from maybe Genty. And even he wasn't a 3-down back because the guy is a moron. So, yeah. Do you trust that he can be a 3-down back, but say that Arthur Smith's an idiot? Or do you go a different direction and take Judkins, who, again, feels like a Steeler? Dude, I forgot even Warrior was still here. Shh. Do the Giants make a phone call? Harmon's still here too. Yeah, there's too many players here that I like. That's the problem. The reality is, by the time that I pick again, my running back is going to be not on the board. Harmon does feel like a Steeler, you're right. Yeah, I'm just going to do it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate Scottaboo, for sure. We're not going to talk about this pick, because it makes me upset. The Lions picking here. I feel like they got to go edge. Shamar. Shamar's got the size. He's got a lot going for him. more. Now, we might have done this a couple weeks ago because I might have been the one that did it. You might have done it last week. I don't really remember. But theoretically, if there's a player that is probably first round worthy that hasn't yet gone, and you're a team that's sort of kind of playing with house money because you played well enough last year to make it to the NFC Championship game, you go out, you make a couple big moves, you beef up your offensive line in a big way with Laremy Tunsil. You beef up your receiving core with Deebo Samuel. I could see running back. I could see Henderson, for sure. I could see that. But, who better to learn from Deebo Samuel than Luther Burden III? He's, he feels like that kind of player-ish. A little lighter, I think, right? A little bit, not much. 5'11", 215. He's listed at, 5'11", 208? What was his combine weight? Six foot 206. Yeah. That feels like a good fit there. Oh, the Bills. The Bills could definitely go Darius Alexander. They could go Kenneth Grant. They could go Williams. They could go Scorton. They could go Amos. I wouldn't hate that for him. I could see Ravel. So there's a handful of guys here that I like the idea of. And there's a handful of teams that I think might be interested in potentially looking to get back into the first round. There might be a player or two here that sounds intriguing enough that you might want to pick up that fifth-year option on it. So the Browns aren't going to give up too much here. They're going to give Buffalo back their 94th overall pick to move up 3 spots back into the first round. And maybe that's not enough, but the Bills are okay with it. They love trading back. The difference is this time it's not with the Chiefs. Jackson Dart is headed on a bus to Cleveland. Who decide to throw a dart at their next quarterback of the future. I can't not take a tackle here. I'm going Connerly for him. They so desperately need offensive line that I can't see a world that they don't do it. Which puts us in a weird spot because I think that there's a couple teams that might want to move up into the first round here to take a guy that, again, maybe he's a developmental type player that you might want to grab that fifth-year option for. Do you have to pay more because it's within division? Do you pay less because it's within division? Do you pay less because you're only moving up 2 spots? Let's go. What did I just do? What was the Bills trade? Oh no? Oh yes. $105, sure. Force it. The Giants. Russell Wilson's coach, Jalen Milroe, welcome to Gotham, baby. Dude, could you... By the way, I don't think that they're eligible for Hard Knocks, but could you imagine a world with Tommy Cutlets, Jalen Milroe, Russell Wilson, and Jameis Winston on Hard Knocks? Tell me that's not the most electric thing you've ever heard of in your entire life. Man. Didn't they cancel Hard Knocks? They might have. I know they canceled the off-season version. I don't know if they canceled the actual, like, regular Hard Knocks. Listen, you can't spell naysayer without NY. Just saying. First pick in the second round, the Bills are on the clock. Again, the Bills still have free range of any of the players that I just talked about. I want to go Amos, I think. Joey Bosa's not getting any younger. Brousseau's not getting any younger. They could use these players because Ogunjobi and Michael Hope both got just suspended for the same amount of games after doing a team bonding ayahuasca PED trip together. Forgot Mitch Trubisky signed back there. No, I didn't. I knew that. What am I talking about? It was last year. Sorreville, yeah. I could see either of them. Amos just feels like the guy that is maybe more likely to go earlier at this point. But again, that could very well be smoke and mirrors. The Eagles take Mykal Williams because he's a Georgia defender. Titans added Cam Ward with their first overall pick. There's a lot of edge rushers here still. I could see Pierce, I could see Scorton. Gordon, I think, I don't know if he fully fits the mold of what they would be looking for. Draymond Jones is bad. He's a bad fit there, I think. I think James Pierce is the guy. He's too twitchy. He's got too much going for him. Yes, he obviously has some off-the-field issues, but it's very hard for me not to take. Now, did the Jaguars go Kenneth Grant to pair with Mason Grant? Because that would be funny. How badly do they need interior defensive linemen? Pretty bad. Unless they're going Mason Smith and Mason Graham. That would be amazing. I think I'm just going to do it. I mean, if it's here, which it probably won't be, but it's here now. Tetairoa and McMillan in the first. Raiders still need a running back. They could also use defensive line. Darius Alexander is screaming my name. He's got to be the most agile 310 I've ever seen. But does he add enough to what they already get out of Christian Wilkins? They're getting it. Yeah, I was literally, just so you know, before I click this, in my head, I was like, Quinshon Judkins, I think, makes a lot of sense for the Raiders. Again, an argument to be made that maybe TreVeyon Henderson's a better fit, but I think in what Pete Carroll's offense would look like, I think that they would probably go Judkins over him. Pats took Will Campbell in the first. Handful of guys here at both running back and wide receiver that I like a good amount for him. But as we all know, Patriots fans have been clamoring for Higgins for a year and a half. They finally get Higgins. May not be the right one, but they're going to be happy about it regardless. Bears took Genty in the first. How badly do the Bears need defensive tackle? Grady Jarrett. Dexter. Be pretty gross, right? But they would probably go more of a Tyleek though than a Darius. Maybe. Maybe not. Or I just do the same thing I did 2 weeks ago and give them Xavier Watts. Sorry, not sorry. Saints took Shaduki in the first round. And I think that they're going to want to get him a weapon. Shador to Trey Harris would be interesting. Jack Betch, though. But again, I don't know if Jack Betch playing in New Orleans is too head on the nose. Or do they go with a running back? Did they go Dylan Sampson? Go back-to-back Tennessee running backs? Replace Kamara with Sampson? That would be interesting. That'd be really interesting, actually. It's tricky for me not to do that. Sampson may not be the best running back available, though. But it's the Saints, so does that really stop them? Probably should go Henderson over Sampson. But they could also, I mean, they need a receiver pretty bad. I mean, Brandon Cooks being your second wide receiver in 2025 is not a great look. Bub Means just didn't really look good last year. Felix Jones is on your roster. Jack Betch. I'll regret it later, I'm sure. Pats probably go running back here. I could see Vrabel being a huge Scatabo guy, but he probably doesn't go this early. And, I mean, you still have Ramondre for the year, at least. Henderson's a better complement in that backfield, I think. Jets took Membu in the first. You could see them trying to look at a wide receiver here to go with their complement of guys to Justin Fields. Josh Reynolds really isn't doing it for me. Neither is Alan Lazard. Is there a tight end, actually? Do I go Mason Taylor? Jeremy Ruckert's not going to stop me from getting a tight end. As much as I would love it for fantasy purposes. Do they need Trey Harris or Mason Taylor more? I'm definitely higher on Mason Taylor than PFF is. Nothing that says anything. Because I'm also higher on what's his face? Trey Harris than PFF is. Harris. Jihad Campbell went in the first to the Niners. I could see Ravel to the Niners here. That would be a really good fit, I think. They took Barron in the first. They could use a running back. They could use a wide receiver. But they could also use an edge. Landon Jackson, you are the pinnacle. The pinnacle of a Jerry Jones player. Tall, white, from Arkansas, weird looking, haven't committed any felonies or misdemeanors yet, so that's going to have to be something you work on. There's still time, Landon. You got like a couple weeks until the draft, so just take that for what you will. Something to work on. Welcome home. Colts took Kelvin Banks in the first. And I think they go Mason Taylor here. They need tight end pretty bad. And again, I'd like Mason Taylor to get him out. Makes sense in my book. Falcons took an edge in the first, which I don't regret doing. See them going wide receiver. I just don't love it. Did they go linebacker? Maybe. probably should go back-to-back defensive picks here. They could go cornerback too. Carson Schwarzenegger, I like it. You are an Atlanta Falcon. Cardinals got Gray Zabel with their first pick. And somehow Darius Alexander's still on the board. If he made it to the Dolphins pick here, I would have probably locked that in. For them, they took Will Johnson in the first. TJ Sanders would be nice. Norman Lott would be nice. Six 4 290. Tyler's what 6'3", 330. 6'3", 327. Norman Lott is 6'3", 315. Going Norman Lott. He might give you something that you don't get out of the other two in the pass rush, the twitchiness. Took Walter Nolan in the first. They're taking Nick Scorton in the second. I don't care if that's not listed up as a need for him. It is. It is. It is. Every position on the defense is a need. Just for size, not a starter. For me, plain and simple. Miles Murphy, maybe he could be. But Nick Scorton still being here at pick 49 is untenable. And the Seahawks still wind up getting Donovan Jackson to play guard for him. I need to go to the bathroom. I will be right back. are back. Dolphins so far have taken Will Johnson and Omar Norman Lott. I think they got to go tackle here. And Bow. Yeah, I think Bow would be a good fit for him. Seahawks have a lot of picks here, man. I think they could target a wide receiver. I know they picked up Kupp. I don't know why I keep closing this frickin' link. MVS really doesn't move the needle for me. JSN's very good. So in my mind, you have flexibility here to take another one. Question is, what style do you want that person to have? I think Jalen Noel's a sneaky one for me. But he is more of a slot, which is probably where they should be playing. What's his face? JSN. But I really think JSN could work on the outside, man. Hey, Yomanor? Maybe. Canadian-born wide receiver. His run blocking is tremendous. Which I could see the Seahawks liking that a lot. Dude, I had 4 quarterbacks go in the first round. I had 4 quarterbacks draft in the first round. There were 4 of them. Four quarterbacks in the first round. Wow. I don't love that. I could see him going linebacker, dude. Ernest Jones, Uchenna Nwosu, and Tyrese Knight. Or really just Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight. Tyrese, meet Demetrius. Bucks already grabbed a safety, a very good safety who's versatile. So you could still use an edge rusher, and there's a handful of guys here, but I think Braden Swinson grades out pretty well for what they would be looking for. I mean, either of these guys, really. Princeton might be a little bit safer. 6'4", 255. 6'4", 250. I mean, splitting hairs here. Packers took Matt Golden in the first. Could see them going cornerback here in the second. See them going edge. Not really, because we already talked about that. Hairston feels like a Packer. He's from Michigan, too. Yep, done. Like, Buka was a first-rounder for the Chargers. They could go defensive line. I still think they could go edge, though. No? Tui, Khalil Mack's not getting any younger, man. I will give you that they probably need defensive line more. And Shamar Turner could be an interesting idea. So it's Sanders, though. Ugh. Sorry. Yeah, I think I'm going Sanders. Bills are probably not thrilled with that because they could use him. I think the Bills are between JT and Jack Sawyer, though. And I think my preference has always been Jack Sawyer, so that's what I'm going to go with. Panthers got Jalen Walker in the first. I think he used wide receiver. I think we gave him Restrepo last week, and that's just what I'm going to do again. He feels like a Thielen replacement to me long term, which is nice to have. Again, I understand a lot of concerns with the testing that he had. I just don't see the same issues on tape. Create separation, which I think is what you're trying to get for a guy that Bryce Young can throw to. And yeah. Texans offensive line. Booker might not be the perfect fit here, but at this point I think it's time to just stop the fall. I could see Milam though too. Yeah, I'm just gonna stick with Booker. It might not be the best fit in the world. It might be weirdly scheme dependent, and it's not gonna work out for him. But they just need to beef up that offensive line really badly. I mean, they made some moves this year that I don't think were particularly great. And just taking a guy whose biggest knock coming into the league was his lack of ability to play against pressure. He looked decent enough against pressure, but you also had an offensive line around him that made him look even better. Then he has a down year where some of those pressure issues kind of come back into fruition, and your solution is to gut the offensive line. It's a hard sell to me. It's a very hard sell to me. The Ravens, who did the Ravens get this time that pissed me off? Well, they probably would have taken Tyler Booker, actually, if I hadn't gone with him. So, edge rusher, Braden Swinson is good. And he will be good there, I'm sure. Shamar. It's probably a little earlier than you want to go linebacker here. I feel like I could use a DB though still, because they lost. Oh, they picked up DJ Reed. That's right. Did I give him Shamar Stewart? Jeez. They still could use DB depth, though. Darian Porter feels right. Isaiah Thomas feels right. Benjamin Morrison feels right. I could see a little bit of a run going here, too. Guess they did go break straw. They could probably use a wide receiver to bump Tim Patrick, though, and I feel like if they're going to do that, Yamamura makes sense. Run blocking. Commander style of offense. I could see them liking Caleb. But I think it's more likely that they would like Samson or even Harvey. I'm gonna go Samson though. I don't know that I really feel like he's a second round player, but it's possible. Bills took Amos and Sawyer. I still feel like they could take defensive line with Tyreek sitting there. I feel like it's too much to pass up on. Chiefs took Connerly in the first. Shamar Turner's sitting there for him. He feels like a good eventual. Chris Jones replacement. Eagles took like hell in the second. I mean, they could do whatever the hell they wanted to at this point. Jalen Nolan offense would actually be gross. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. That's gross. That's vehemently something that should not happen. Giants have taken Abdul Carter and Jalen Milroe so far. And they add to the defensive backfield with Darian Porter. Chiefs are back up again. I guess this was in the Travarius Ward trade. Dang, dude. That's nasty. I mean, this feels like a trade down spot to me. Unless they really, 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 really want to future-proof here. Christian Fulton is a starting cornerback for them right now, and I don't love that. So is Jamari Connor. Yeah, I think I'm going to give him Isaiah Thomas instead. Browns have Travis Hunter and Jackson Dart so far. Wyatt Milam feels like he could be a Browns type of guy. Cam Williams actually really feels like a Browns type of guy because they have Dawan Jones, who is bad because he's too big. So just double down, baby. Double down. Tedero, McMillan, Quinshon Judkins. Benjamin Morrison. What are we thinking? Where the camera? Yeah, you know what? I think that I can be talked into that. Patriots are having a hell of a draft so far. They've addressed all their biggest needs so far. Again, I feel like you could future-proof center here if you wanted to. You could try to future-proof outside linebacker because I don't actually love their edge rushers. Yeah, let me look at that. What do we got here, edge? JT Tuimoloau. He's gonna be more of a 4-3 edge, not a 3-4. Kyle Kennard. 6'5", 254. That's kind of tweener. Ivy's. Yeah. What's their linebacker? Chris Paul. I do like Chris Paul a good amount. I could also just see him going, like I said, offensive line again. I just feel like it's too early for Wilson. But maybe not. I mean, the Patriots historically draft weird. It's not like it's necessarily a bad pick. Yeah, let's go weird. No. No. Let's go Chris Paul instead. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant so far are your Jaguars 2 additions. I feel like you really got to be considering tight end here. What did I have the Broncos do? Oh, right, they traded their second round pick. That's right. Arroyo feels more like a Ingram replacement, I think. Than Ferg. I think they both could do it. I just feel like Arroyo is more of that fit, so that's for the direction I'm going to go. Saints have gotten Shador and Jack Betch so far. Alfred Collins feels like a solid add to their defensive line. That's not what I want to do. Running backs, I could see them liking Johnson or Scadaboo. Pick again in the near-ish future. Taking Collins. Bears drafted Watts and Genty so far. I think they would take Tuamala here. Jets have Membu and Trey Harris. They could use... I guess you're kind of at the point now where maybe you just take a stab at one of these quarterbacks if you really like them. If you really like Will Howard, maybe. It's still a little bit early, I think, for if you actually are as sold on Justin Fields as you're claiming that you are. Which, again, it's a business. I don't know. At this point, I don't think I love any of these guys. CJ West, I think, is alright. Josh Foreman's okay. Jordan Phillips is fine. They probably would actually have taken Chris Paul now that I'm thinking about it. Let's look at DBs. I like Kevin Winston a good amount. Am I stupid? I swear I read that Andre Cisco signed an extension. Who am I thinking of? Swear. Am I crazy? I mean, obviously I am. That's goes without saying. I swear, I just saw something about Andre Cisco today. I guess I'm just losing it. Well, sure, I guess he signed with the Jets. Sure. Doesn't really stop me though, I don't think. If you like Kevin Winston enough. which I could see Aaron Glenn liking him a lot. So that's what I'm going to do. Panthers, Restrepo, Walker. I think that they don't touch running back to the 10-foot pole. You could probably take a tackle, though. I don't think Taylor Moton does enough for you to not take one. You could probably also take a second edge rusher. Yeah, I think I like Jared Ivey. Defensive line, cornerback. I think they could grab Tate here, which would be kind of gross. And by kind of gross, I mean pretty freaking gross. They feel like a team that could reach on Isaiah Bond for absolutely no reason, other than the fact that they're just dumb. Well, I haven't made a trade in a long time. What have I done with the Steelers so far? Traded back and picked up Derek Harvey. Okay. I mean, that's solid. Do they trade up here? Fascinating. How does that happen? All right. That's new. Yeah, let's do this. That's probably not enough, actually. Scadaboo's a Steeler. Patriots, I'm lost at this point for what they could be looking to do. Yeah, Henderson. I still wouldn't hate the edge idea. Ooh, Jordan Burch, actually. He doesn't make sense. What the hell was I going to go? Jared Wilson. I think it might have actually been Jared Wilson. Yeah, we're going to do that. Cornerbacks. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. Parrish, Bryant. Calais Campbell, I forgot they signed him. He's old. Josh Sweat, Baron Browning, Zayvon Collins, BJ Ojolari. Do you consider a running back here? Like, if they really like Caleb Johnson, I think they would consider that. I'm not saying it's the right move. Jonah's probably playing guard, right? Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I've given them Tyler Booker and Josh Simmons so far, and I don't regret any second of it. Jalen Royals would be fun. He'd be real fun in that offense. But do I need to give them another offensive lineman? Like, probably. They really gutted this, dude. I mean, I don't know how they feel about any of these guys either. I mean, Jared Patterson shouldn't be a starter. Drew Scruggs probably shouldn't be a starter. Blake Fisher probably shouldn't be a starter. Titus Howard, fine. Left guard, I guess. Ken Robinson probably shouldn't be a starter. I mean, he's okay. He's okay. Good defensive line. But, like, yeah. Joe Mixon's not getting any younger. Damian Pierce is bad. They could go running back. I give them Royals though. Well, let me give them Royals. Kelvin Banks and Mason Taylor. At this point, I think Latu pretty pay, even if you do like those guys, I think at this point you're probably okay taking a guy like Jordan Burch, Kyle Kennard, Josiah Stewart, but I'm going to lean Jordan Burch for him. Defensive line, edge. Is there a linebacker around here that's decent? I don't think so. Jeff Bassa. That wouldn't be terrible. I like him enough. What if they go Caleb Johnson? They do need a guard really bad, though. Or somebody who could probably play guard at least. I feel like Ursa could play guard. Charles Grant. they're gonna take Ursery and try to play him at guard. That's what I'm gonna do. Same situation, dude. Same situation. I don't know if Wyatt Milam is somebody that fully makes sense for him or not. But they need offensive line pretty bad, and I just don't think that it's worth jumping the gun on the next available technical interior offensive lineman. Charles Grant could probably do it too. I don't love that. At this point, I think Caleb Johnson's got to go. He feels like a Cowboys type of player. I didn't actually mean to click that because I was thinking about taking somebody else for him. But too late. Again, we've established right that Jeff Boss is the next best linebacker. But like, I like him a good amount. He feels like a Buccaneer to me. Dude, if Devin Neal is actually there, because that's who I was thinking about taking for the Cowboys. But if Devin Neal's there, that'd be sick for the Broncos. Like Muka, Sanders, and T. Ferg. Golden, Hairston, Kyle Kennard. That feels like a Packers type player for sure. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Elijah Arroyo. Just add to the defensive line from Michigan. Go Josiah Stewart. What's gonna stop me? My moral compass. This is gonna stop me. Safety, Lathan Ransom. I could see him. I could see him being a good Jaguar. Royals, they still need offensive line. Where am I at on that? Charles Grant or Ozzie? I think I'm going Ozzie. Rams got Colson Loveland. They're going to complement that with Charles Grant. Is that a reach? No, not really. Play left tackle. Yeah, screw it. What do the Ravens need? I haven't even looked at their roster yet because both times I felt like it was just obvious who to go for. Justice Hill's not getting any younger. They took Rasheen Ali last year, but they took him late. Rosengarten played well enough for him. He's a guard, but there's no guard to be comfortable taking here. We got Cheeto Awuzie, but that's not great. But they got TJ Tampa last year, who I like. I could see him taking RJ Harvey. He feels like a Ravens running back. Dude, I don't know what to do with the Seahawks anymore. I don't want to pick for them. They upset me. Always hurt. Not great. Bad. Hurt a good amount. Running back it is. Which one? DJ Giddens. Sure. Saints also need a running back. Here we go. This is the run on running backs we've all been waiting for. Bashal Tutin feels like a Saint to me. I could see an argument for Damien Martinez. I could see an argument for Jadon Blue. But Tutin is an exciting guy. 5'11", 209, 6 foot 200, 6 foot 232. Give me Tutin. Buffalo. They could probably add another wide receiver. No. They lost Matt Collins. Did they pick somebody else up?
Josh Palmer.
That's right. They don't really need one, but it wouldn't hurt either. Could also grab a running back. But at this point, that pool might be picked clean, unless. Could be kind of fun. Dion Dawkins is not getting any younger. He's not that old though, is he? He's only 30. That's not too early to start thinking about it, I guess. Six, 336. Took Amos already, so they don't really need to go that route. They could probably still use a safety. Taylor Rapp's not that young. Colt Bishop looked decent last year, but if there's a safety that they like, which I could see them liking either of these guys. Yeah, I'm good with Angel Makuba. Chiefs are back up the clock. I feel like we could use edge. a little bit. Yeah, Mike Dana doesn't really move the needle for me. Eagles got Jalen Noel or Jalen Knoll, Michael Williams. This is disgusting. This shouldn't be allowed. Honestly. They probably go defensive line here. I think I like Jordan Phillips more than the rest of the options, personally. Vikings took Hampton. You probably got to consider defensive line again. Or safety. Sebastian Castro looks solid. Dolphins took Will Johnson, Omar, Norman Lott, and Marcus Mbao. Savion would be kind of fun on offense. Savion would be very fun on offense. Oladejo would be kind of fun in that offense. Did I say Oladejo would be fun in that offense? I need to be sedated, bro. Too early to think about taking a quarterback here as a Tua replacement. No, honestly, I don't think it is. Tight end, they could use a tight end still, right? Did they really address that? Did they do anything at tight end? Johnny back, I guess. Sure. Harold Fanning, you are a Miami Dolphin. Giants have taken Abdul Carter. They traded up for Jalen Miller. They got Darian Porter. I don't know if people are going to be happy about this or piss the hell off. So why not just keep it going? Savion Williams. Niners, Campbell, Ravel, Tate, Ratledge. Could use defensive linemen. I do like Josh Farmer a good bit. I also like Dan Walker, but I'm going to give him Farmer. Steelers got Derek Harmon, Scattaboo. Again, I don't think we need tackle or corner. Jacob Parrish, sure. Lions. I don't think there's a linebacker I like enough here. Jack Kaiser maybe slips into day 2. I could see that. Actually, Jack Kaiser does feel like a Lion. I could see that. I'm talking myself into it. Yep. Bang. That'll knock it out. I might have to go live. We will not be back live next week. I am going to flip over to Twitch and go live over there, playing some MLB show for the rest of the night tonight. But I don't think that I like this enough. I think I'm going to do a official 1-round mock draft on probably that Wednesday night before the draft. I might see if Crush is around to join me for that as well, so we can both do our own final 1-round mocks of what we think that this draft is going to wind up looking like. Our final predictive. Hopefully a couple more of the hanging participles are figured out by then. But that is going to wrap it up. Again, we are going to go switch over to Twitch. Bossman_277 over there as well. So thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate it. Crush, thanks for your input. Hope everything's well with the kiddos and all that. But we are going to wrap this one up. Send you guys over to Twitch to go keep an eye out over there. Again, it is twitch.tv _ slash plus main 277. Hopefully that works. Alright. See you guys again sometime real soon. Again, I think we'll be live maybe for the actual draft, if not that day before, but hopefully at some point shortly. Thank you guys for hanging out. I